I think that a lot of people fail to realize that there is a massive difference in training behaviors with a dog rather than just training obedience with a dog. When we're talking obedience training, there's a very strict set of rules that kind of dictate what the dog is allowed to do and what they are not allowed to do, with little deviation from that original plan. When we're talking about behavioral training, we're dealing with the emotional aspect of the dog and less so on the actual things the dog is doing. So, like, I'm not going to focus so hard on a sit in a heel position if the dog is a reactive dog and is actively trying to avoid conflict, right? There's a little bit more leniency when we're working with emotional regulation and helping the dog feel better in the moment. When it comes to obedience training, it's a lot more cut and dry. I need you to do this and I need you to do it for me right now, please. With that being said, there still is obedience that goes into behavior modification training. I just think it's important to really recognize that a dog that is going through behavior modification, it's not always going to look as polished as a strictly obedience dog where the dog doesn't have any behavioral concerns that play into it. And with that being said, I think that giving our dogs a lot of patience with the behavior modification training is going to be incredibly important to seeing long-term results. When it comes to obedience training, there are certain things that we can teach our dogs to kind of help us and them through day-to-day life. Something as simple as deferring to us when thresholds or doorways open up, so your dog isn't running out into the street every time you go out the front door. Having your dog know how to walk nicely on a leash. These are all things that are incredibly important for the safety and well-being of our dogs living in our human society. When it comes to behavior modification training, it's a little bit more nuanced. There's a lot more that goes into it, and it's all going to be very dependent on your dog. But I think the biggest thing to really keep in mind when trying to find a behavior modification trainer is going to be, are they really individualizing the training for each dog? Are they taking the dog's emotional state into account and trying to help that? Are they doing what they can to reduce fallout after the fact once training is over? When you're trying to think about which training is going to benefit you and your dog the most, I'm taking things into account like, is this a happy-go-lucky dog that isn't environmentally nervous? Is this a dog that needs a little bit more confidence building? Those are things that really are going to key your trainer in on whether or not we're going just the straight obedience route or if we're needing a little bit of behavior modification. When it comes to behaviors like aggression or fear-based reactivity, obedience can play a role in it, but we need to be careful when we are using that obedience as a band-aid, right? I don't want this to be a suppressive thing for the dog to have to remain in a sit if they are fearful of the thing that's walking towards them. There's a time and place, but when it comes to obedience in behavior modification, it plays a very small role, a much smaller role than I think most people would realize.